Welcome to Signature TV News. I am Charles Pius. In the headlines, Labour strike grounds social and economic activities nationwide. WAEC appeals to NLC and TUC to consider candidates sitting for the ongoing senior certificate exams. CBN revokes Heritage Bank's license over alleged infractions. Mexico's Lopez Obrador hails election of first female president. And in sports, Mourinho arrives in Istanbul for unveiling as Fenerbahce coach. Details shortly. The organized labor in Nigeria on Monday made good its threat to embark on a nationwide strike with activities in all parts of the country almost grounded. Signature TV correspondent Ebenezer Odo monitored the situation in Enugu State, which coincided with the Monday sit-at-home in the southeast region.
At the Akan Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, the labor leaders at the airport barricaded entrance into the premier airport in the southeast and refused motorists and their passengers entrance. A move into the airport revealed that the doors of both the domestic and international wings were under locks and keys. Mr. Isaac Eyili, National Officer of the National Air Transport Employees and representative of the Aviation Union, blamed the federal government for the nationwide industrial strike. Mr. Eyili explained that the leadership of the Organized Labor's NLC President, Joe Ajero, started negotiating with the federal government for the new minimum wage since November last year.
1st of May, on the day of Workers' Day, labor unions issued an ultimatum to the government that on the last day of May, if they did not come out with a new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers, that the whole nation will be shut down.
He listed what workers go through today as cost of living skyrocket every day, to include high electricity tariff, gas and fuel pump price increases. Mr. Eyili said federal government merely offered workers only 60,000 naira out of the 420,000 naira they were demanding, noting that it is too poor.
Will 60,000, will it cover the fueling of a worker's vehicle to come to work daily and go back home? No. Will it cover the cooking gas that you have moved from 650 naira to 1,200 naira? Will it cover it? No. Will it cover the electricity tariff that you have jacked up? No. So where is the 60,000 going to be?
Most workers billed to jet out of the country from the airport were seen sitting down, while others were trekking even on foot, as there was no vehicles around to take them home. Dr. Chidi Bokwe and Mrs. Ifeoma Onyejiaka had hoped to travel out of the country, but for the indefinite strike.
What they are asking for is not too much. A good minimum wage that can take people home. Everywhere is becoming, I don't know, the country is becoming more difficult and hard.
We came here before, at least, I think we're about 10 minutes past 7 this morning, and we saw everybody sitting out here. And when we asked what's going on, we were never told. Even the airline didn't send any email out or anything. So we got here and, we were told that the Labour Congress is on industrial action. So the airport is shut, that the airport is not even open until we can't get in. So that's why we're sitting out here.
Lady Lovett Onovo is a staff of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Enugu. She came to work today but could not gain access into her office. Lady Onovo is asking the federal government to quickly negotiate with the labor to avoid further deterioration of the nation's economy.
Why I should blame federal government for what is happening, because they were supposed to have tackled this from day one, not allowing it to come into play at all. If they had listened to labor, called them for dialogue, this wouldn't have happened today. Being a staff of this establishment, I know how much federal government is losing in terms of revenue. So it is uncalled for.
Signature TV News also noted that workers at the state secretariat, federal secretariat, The Institute of Management and Technology, as well as the State High Court, complied with the NLC and TUC directive to proceed on indefinite strike. For about 8 months since November 2023, the labor leaders, NLC and TUC, have been negotiating for new salary for workers, which broke down last Friday. Ebenezer Odo, Signature TV News.
Flight operations were disrupted at the airports in Lagos and Abuja, while one of Nigeria's airline operators said it was suspending flights until further notice due to the strike. Another said airports across the country have been shut down and that striking workers had not allowed flights to operate. One of those stranded at the airport in Lagos, Peniel Ekume, who was traveling with her mother, and Daniel Levy, an artist who was also traveling to Abuja from Lagos, shared their experiences at the airport.
NLC people were there and I was really confused. Like, they didn't inform us on time. Like, we booked our flights 2 weeks before and they told us we shouldn't enter. So I'm like really confused because I have an interview by 8:30 tomorrow and there's nothing we can do. I don't know if the embassies are aware of it. I'm just really tired. I've been standing here since the past 2 hours and I'm tired. I just want to go.
My flight was for 11 a.m. this morning to Abuja and I've been here since like 7 a.m. We're not granted access to go in. And it's looking like there's no hope because it's almost 12 and the workers that were inside were chased to be outside right now. So all hope is lost and I have to go back and hope we can move tomorrow.
Several people were captured leaving the airport gate as the gate was padlocked. The Deputy President, Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Emmanuel Jaja, said the way and manner the enforcement is being carried out is wrong, saying it has subjected Nigerians to untold hardship.
Hardship on Nigerians, which is not the normal thing. So if it is government that is thinking about their citizens, I think they should rethink and we'll go back to the table.
In Abuja, while some primary health centers had padlocked on their gates, one could see staff of the Ministry of Finance and some bank customers stranded outside. A member of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Aliyu Abdulaziz, said the union is willing to end the strike once the federal government yields to their demand.
Anybody inside is a security, so there's a lot of compliance. So everybody cooperates. No wala. The wala is if you give us what we need, we suspend the strike. If you are not giving us what we need, we continue with the strike.
There was near absence of workers at the Anambra State Secretariat, Awka, and other government offices as a result of the NLC nationwide strike. Signature TV correspondent Ndu Okbaleze, who was at the Jerome Udoji State Secretariat, Awka, reports that most offices were under lock and key.
Just like the situation at the Anambra State Secretariat, Awka, the same situation played out at the Ebele Okeke Federal Secretariat, also at Awka, where only top-level manpower were noticed driving into the complex. The story was, however, different in the school system, as most public and private schools visited before 9 o'clock were all busy with academic or sporting activities. The state chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Humphrey Wafo, and his ESCO monitored compliance from office to office. Speaking to Signature TV News on the situation, Wafo said after a brief meeting with the State Police Commissioner, Nnaye Obonoitam, his men monitored some offices around Amobia area, where they observed over 90% compliance. He said the few workers found in offices were made to go, as the labor demand is for workers.
We have visited a number of places. We have visited ASUDEB, Anambra State Urban Development Authority in Amodi. The place is under lock and key. We have visited the Board of Internal Revenue, that is their state sub-treasury. It's under lock and key. Though we met some people there, we have chased them out and they will lock the gates. We have visited the Awka South Local Government Education Authority. It's under lock and key. Then we have visited the Awka South Local Government area, where we saw a number of youth corpers and was able to also send them away and lock the gates as well. All these things are compliances.
The state's police command said it deployed its personnel across the state to ensure there was no breach of public safety and peace. A statement signed by the image maker of the police in the state, Tochukwu Ikenga, says they have directives from headquarters to enforce the legal recommendations regarding strike action, describing the NLC strike action as illegal and premature. Commercial activities were also grounded to a halt as banks visited in Awka metropolis were under lock and key, except those who could be attended to via ATM machines. Others were seen feeling stranded as they could not gain entry into the bank premises.
The national grid has been shut down as a result of the ongoing strike by the NLC. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, in a statement by the General Manager, Public Affairs, Ndidimba, informed the general public that the labor union has shut down the national grid, resulting in nationwide blackout. The statements added that the staff that resisted were beaten, while some were wounded in the course of forcing them out of the control room and without any form of control or supervision, bringing the Benin Area Control Center to zero. Other transmission stop stations that were shut down by the labor union include the Garmo, Benin, Ayede, Olorunshogo, Akamwa, and Oshobo transmission substations. The West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has appealed to the organized labor to consider students sitting for West African Senior Secondary School certificate examinations in its indefinite strike. The head of National Office of the WAEC, Dr. Amos Dangot, made the appeal in an interview with News Agency of Nigeria, NAN, in Lagos. He said that the council shared in the concerns of the organized labor and those of the entire Nigerian workers, since most of the employees in Nigeria are members of the Nigerian Labour Congress or Trade Union Congress. The Nigerian Senate has urged the federal government to continue the payments of 35,000 naira wage award to workers following the yet-to-be-concluded negotiations on minimum wage. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, said this at the end of a 4-hour closed-door meeting with the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress and some ministers over the industrial action by the unions. Akpabio also appealed to the union to shelve the proposed strike action in the interest of Nigerians and the nation. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, said that government's position on the wage award was that it should continue the payment until the negotiations for the minimum wage is concluded. Ababa residents cry out over planned demolition of buildings. Join us for more stories after this break. Welcome back. You're watching Signature TV News. The Labour Party candidate in the Enugu South Urban constituency in the State's Assembly, Bright Ngene, has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to send a new team to conduct the June 8th rerun elections in the area. Ngene, who was the LP candidate in the 2023 general election, said he had lost confidence in the resident electoral commissioner in Enugu State, Mr. Chukwuemeka Chukwu, and Enugu South electoral officer, Mr. Francis Chibo, in conducting the rerun. Narrating his ordeal during a news conference in Enugu, Ngene said that INEC declared him winner of the March 28, 2023 House of Assembly election for Enugu South Urban constituency after scoring 5,862 votes, while the People's Democratic Party scored 2,098 votes. Residents of Amesi Street in Abapa, Nike, Enugu have appealed to Governor Peter Mba to live up to his campaign promise of reducing poverty in the state to zero level. The landlords and tenants who spoke to Signature TV on Sunday on the planned demolition of their buildings urged the governor to reconsider this decision on compassionate ground. Correspondent Chinemerem Ikebunam has the report.
About 6 residential buildings made up of 2- and 3-story structures were marked for demolition by the Enugu East Town Planning Authority. The notice of the demolition was pasted on the building on Saturday, 25th May, telling the people to vacate their abode within 72 hours. Touched by this development, the residents of Amisi Street called on Governor Mba to come to their rescue over the unexpected planned demolition. Emeka Ndulue, a property owner, lamented the government's inability to come with a commensurate compensation plan.
And brought one paper that says 72 hours to evacuate. I can't really understand why somebody will tell you to, will want to demolish your house and give you 72 hours without any notice. So I really don't understand what is going on. 72 hours is approximately 3 days. So how on earth can it be possible on a building that has stayed for over 30 years? People that live there, many of them pack their properties in the church. Many of them don't have 1 naira to relocate. Now all of a sudden, how can I relocate? Will I carry the house to where? Even if you give me 6 months notice, here is a layout. You make a plan for people who are living here and people who have houses here.
Paul Obuike, a landlord, said the residents were predominantly retired civil and public servants, whose plight should be considered by the government.
The issue of certificate of occupancy. The plan was approved by the old town planning authority. I still wonder the people that started work in 1984 that say in a service by now. So nobody has disturbed us. It was after they came, they marked it, they told us they will use it for in our park. So, but before then, there was no information. We were not served. Since 1984 now, you should know it is exactly 40 years. So, and then now we have been using the building for borrowing money from banks. That means we have all the documents. We have been paying our dues or government revenue.
A tenant who spoke off camera stated that while the government may be discussing with landlords, it should also work out support programs for tenants to make their relocation easier. While the government plans to provide an international bus terminal in some marked locations in Enugu, some affected citizens are in confusion and are pleading that the demolition exercise be carried out with a human face. In Enugu, Chinemerem Ikebunam for Signature TV News.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has revoked the banking license of Heritage Bank PLC, citing the bank's failure to improve its financial performance, which is said poses a threat to financial stability. The revocation, which takes immediate effect, was announced in a statement issued by the CBN, which said the decision was made in accordance with its mandate to promote a sound financial system in Nigeria and in exercise of its regulatory powers. The CBN stated that despite its engagement with the bank and the prescription of various supervisory steps to address the decline, the bank's financial performance continued to deteriorate, leaving no reasonable prospect of recovery. The revocation of the license, it said, was deemed necessary to strengthen public confidence in the banking system and ensure the soundness of the financial system. The Apex Bank said the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, has been appointed as the liquidator of the bank and assured the public that the Nigerian financial system remains on a solid footing. CBN said the action taken against Heritage Bank reflects its continued commitment to ensuring the safety and soundness of the financial system. Awka, the capital city of Anambra State, was agog on Sunday with festivities marking the end of the annual Egwimo Awka. Signature TV correspondent Ndu Okbaleze reports that the rich culture of Igbo people was on display.
Call it a masquerade festival and you will not be off track, as there were masquerades and masqueraders of varying grades and rankings converging on the Nkwo Amenyi shrine of the revered Imo Awka. The groups, made up of cane-wielding youths and some adults, trooped to the arena from the 33 villages of Awka, dancing and making merry. The other title holders were seated conspicuously by the roadside adjoining the Nkwo Amenyi abode of the Imoka. Also sitting under canopies along the old Enugu road with dance troupes were other elders and stakeholders, mostly dressed in traditional white attires and red cap to match. According to one of the community leaders and other title holder, Chief Emeka Nwosu, Imo Awka is one of the age-long festivals that bind Awka people together adding that all indigents return from across Nigeria and even abroad to participate in the month-long activities.
I can feel the harmony.
Right inside the shrine of Imoka is a religious carnival of assorts as groups and individuals bring live cows, goats and sheep to pay homage to gods for keeping them to witness yet another Imoka. Signature TV also noticed that adherents to the traditional religion drop cash gifts while kneeling before the altar in prayers and supplications, just as the chief priests guided them through prayers and blessings. Some of the Imoka chiefs who spoke on the essence said it is a way of winding down after the year's struggle, as well as means of communing with their gods and ancestors. The Imoka festival is a month-long activity that showcases its strongest points within its last week, with a visit by entire community to Umuokpu village of Oka that is separated by Amobia community. The climax was a return visit to Imoka abode at Nkwamenyi by Umuokpu villagers, doing so with masquerades, ogene, and the Igba cultural dance troops. The festival, which practically brought traffic along the old Enugu road to a halt, saw both the able-bodied men, women, and even the physically challenged partake in the whining, dining, and dancing.
Still to come, Hunter Biden arrives in court for criminal trial on gun charges. That's on the foreign scene. And in sports, Mourinho arrives Istanbul for unveiling as Fenerbahce coach. Join us again. Aiming to attract investors and tourists, Algeria is undertaking a comprehensive restoration project of its historical sites, with 249 locations earmarked for tourism expansion. This is in a bid to unlock its rich historical heritage and bolster tourism prospects. Approximately 70 sites have been prepared and restoration plans are underway for 50 additional sites. However, despite these efforts, tackling infrastructural deficiencies remains a key challenge for Nigeria's or Algeria's tourism sector. Visitors such as French tourist Patrick Lebel emphasize the need for an enhanced infrastructure to fully realize Algeria's tourism potential. General Director of the National Tourism Office, Saliha Nasebe, outlined ambitious plans to attract 12 million tourists by 2030. And elsewhere, Mexico's outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador hailed the elections of his ruling party's candidate Claudia Sheinbaum on Monday. Sheinbaum won Mexico's presidential election according to the INEC Electoral Institute's rapid sample counts released Sunday night. Sheinbaum, who has convincingly led in opinion polls over her main competitor, Xochitl Gálvez, will be tasked with confronting organized crime, violence, and reviving a sluggish economy. And a victory for her would represent a major step to Mexico, a country known for its macho culture. The winner is set to begin a 6-year term on October 1st. Hunter Biden, the son of U.S. President Joe Biden, was in Delaware federal court on Monday for the start of a criminal trial where he is facing gun charges. This is the first trial of the child of a sitting president. Hunter Biden will face 3 felony charges stemming from his purchase and possession of a revolver in 2018. It is one of 2 criminal cases he faces, with federal tax charges brought separately in California, for which he has pleaded not guilty. The trial in Washington, with U.S. District Judge Marilyn Noreka presiding, begins with the jury selection process. In the case brought by U.S. Special Counsel David Weiss last September, Hunter Biden was charged with lying about his use of illegal drugs when he bought a Colt Cobra 38 caliber revolver and with illegally possessing the weapon for 11 days in October of 2018. If convicted on all charges in Delaware case, Hunter Biden faces up to 25 years in prison, though defendants generally receive shorter sentences according to the U.S. Justice Department. Yemen's Houthis have held a military funeral procession in Sana'a on Monday for 19 of their fighters they say were killed in recent U.S.-British-led strikes. Honor guards carried the fighters' green wooden coffins, each adorned with pictures of deceased, after funeral prayers attended by hundreds of supporters of the group. Pickup trucks carried the coffins for burial. The Houthis' Al Masira television said on Friday 16 people had been killed and 35 wounded in U.S. and British strikes on Yemen's Hodeidah province. The outlets reported that the strikes targeted a radio building in Hodeidah's Al-Haq district and port of Salif. The Houthis, who control Yemen's capital and most populous areas, have attacked international shipping in the Red Sea since November in solidarity with the Palestinians in the war between Israel and Hamas militants, drawing U.S. and British retaliatory strikes since February. And here is the breaking news. As the nationwide strike by the organized labor over a new minimum wage for workers paralyze economic activities in Nigeria, the federal government has invited labor leaders to a meeting in Abuja, the country's political capital. The meeting, which is presently ongoing, has the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, and his counterpart in the Trade Union Congress, TUC Festus Osifo, in attendance. On the government side is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris Malagi, Labour Minister Nkiruka Onyejocha, among others. Last-minute talks between Labour leaders and the leadership of the National Assembly failed on Sunday night, as the organized Labour said there was no going back on the industrial action. And now some sports updates. Kylian Mbappe has completed his long-awaited move to Real Madrid after both parties reached terms, reports have said. For this and more sports stories, over to correspondent Justice Ama.
Two-time Champions League winning coach Jose Mourinho arrived in Istanbul on Sunday ahead of his unveiling as the new manager of Turkish club Fenerbahce. The Portuguese coach, who won the Champions League with Porto and Inter Milan, has not worked since sacking by Italian Serie A side Roma in January. He was greeted at the airport by a crowd of fans from his new club. The 61-year-old announced the latest move in his career in a post on Saturday night from Wembley as he was acting as a television pundit for Real Madrid's 2-0 win over Borussia Dortmund in Champions League final. Reports suggest Mourinho will sign a 2-year contract in Fenerbahce, one of the three big Istanbul sides which has not won the domestic league in 10 years. Mourinho, who has also managed Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham, and Real Madrid, was dismissed by Roma after a 2.5 years in January, with the club struggling in ninth at the time. He guided Roma to the inaugural European Conference League trophy in 2022 and the final of the last season's European League. Kylian Mbappe has completed his long-awaited move to Real Madrid after both parties reached terms, reports have said. Mbappe have revealed he would leave Paris Saint-Germain at the end of his contract back in May, where he was the club's all-time record goal scorer. The 25-year-old's future had been under speculation as Spanish giants tried luring the Frenchman to the Bernabeu despite PSG insisting that talismanic striker was not for sale. Mbappe had hinted that he was going to join a new club but remained cryptic on the name of the club. Meanwhile, El Nassr forward Cristiano Ronaldo has spoken to two of his former Real Madrid teammates about joining him in Saudi Arabia. This comes after they lost to Al Hilal in the Kings Club final this week. Marca reports that Ronaldo has called up Nacho Fernandez and Casemiro in an effort to convince them to move to the Middle East. Both players are on certain club features this summer, and Ronaldo is personally taking the lead in trying to lure them to the Saudi Pro League. An emotional Ronaldo was in tears after his side lost the Saudi Cup final defeat, consigning his team to a trophyless season. The 39-year-old clearly believes that the way to rectify the next season will be to move for more experienced players who have pedigree in winning trophies. Ademola Lookman scored and provided an assist in Atlanta's 3-2 defeat to Fiorentina on Sunday. Lookman cancelled out Andre Belotti's opening goal in the 13th minute. The Nigerian received a perfectly timed through ball from Charles De Ketelere and beat debutant Tommaso Martinelli with a cheap finish. The 26-year-old then set up Giorgio Scavini for the second goal in the 32nd minute. Lookman finished the season with 17 goals and 9 assists across all competitions. The winger was Atlanta's top scorer last season. That is it on sports. I am Justice Ama.
And that's the news. But before we go, let's remind you of our breaking story. As the nationwide strike by the labor union over the new minimum wage for workers paralyzed economic activities in Nigeria, the federal government has invited labor leaders to a meeting in Abuja, the country's political capital. The meeting, which is presently ongoing, has the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, and his counterpart in the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, in attendance. On the government side is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris Malagi, Labour Minister Nkiruka Onyejocha, among others. Last-minute talks between Labour leaders and the leadership of the National Assembly failed on Sunday night as the organized Labour said there was no going back on the industrial action. And that's the news on the hour. We are following these developing stories as it breaks. Stay with us. I'm Charles Pius. Thanks for watching.